Just waiting a moment for the video to start, and it looks like we are good to go now. Hi everyone, happy Tuesday if you are here making it live. Happy whatever day it is if you are watching the recording. I love talking about therapy intensives. I will talk about it forever and ever. And as I talk about therapy intensives, as I talk about especially planning your pricing for therapy intensives, you all have seen that I will talk about my fee structure with intensives, how much you can earn from intensives, that you can charge a premium fee for intensives. And a lot of the feedback I get, if it's not genuine questions around like, how do you price it? How do you explain the fee difference between your normal hourly rate and your therapy intensive hourly rate? If it's not those types of questions, it is comments that are, I think, with well intention, maybe not for some people, but this concern around, well, clearly then you only work with rich people. Clearly your clients are rich, you work with the 1%. No one is ever going to be able to afford $300 an hour, $400 an hour, $500 an hour. And I want to debunk this myth. I am going to start by saying, of course, not everyone is going to be able to pay a premium fee, but at the same time, it's not just rich people, whatever that means, however we're qualifying that, who can pay for intensives. So, gonna talk about a few different things here. Number one, when I'm talking about a therapy intensive, just to recap that really quick, basically what I'm talking about is an extended session. So, is that 90 minutes? Is that 2 hours? Is that 3 hours? Is it 30 hours of therapy in 1 week? Your intensive can look however it works best for you. There's tons of options there. The kind of whole purpose of a therapy intensive is to help people move through their therapeutic goals faster. Why? Because we want them to feel better, because you maybe sometimes feel stuck with your clients. You maybe sometimes feel like you can't get to everything in the 45 or 50 minute or even 60-minute sessions that you have. So many of the therapists that I work with who have just done 90-minute sessions have seen how transformative those can feel. So the whole point of a therapy intensive is to move people through their therapeutic goals more quickly, to help them feel better faster, so that they don't have to be in therapy forever, so that they don't have to feel like they are in pain forever. And that's important, right? I think there's totally a difference between I myself am a person where I will probably be in therapy in some capacity for the rest of my life because I love reflecting on things, I love learning, I love growing. I don't know that I'll do that weekly for the rest of my life, but I will probably always be someone who just wants to grow and be better and learn more about myself. But there's a difference between being in that kind of mode, that kind of client in therapy, and being the client who is coming to sessions weekly because they do not feel better. They do not know that they're ever going to feel better. They feel so desperate for feeling better sooner, for actually wanting to live their life, for actually wanting to have a healthier relationship with a partner, with a family member, with just anybody, to have a good relationship. There are so many people who are going to weekly therapy and are still suffering strongly. And right now, the only other wide known option is, okay, so then intensive outpatient programs, right, for people who are more at risk. But those programs, I have never heard a good piece of feedback about those programs because people find them to be more triggering. People find them to be more upsetting. People find that it makes them feel worse. And now people judge me and think I must be on the edge of a psychotic break just because I feel really badly about my life. And so this is where therapy intensives come into play of if we can work with, if it's a trauma, if it's infidelity in a relationship, if it's loneliness, low self-esteem, whatever it is, you can target anything with a therapy intensive. And if we can help you feel better sooner from that, then it decreases the likelihood that you will need to be in therapy in that weekly way and still feeling crappy and like you're not getting the benefits that you want out of it. And so with this, right, therapy intensives aren't necessarily meant to be weekly sessions. They're not necessarily meant to be even like once a month sessions. They definitely can be, depending on what someone's working through, what someone's therapy goals are. But this isn't a place where someone is supposed to be doing it in the same way that people do weekly therapy. Again, people can choose to. Everyone's therapy goals and struggles are different. So maybe there are people who are doing at least weekly 90-minute sessions. That's definitely a way of working intensively. So coming back to this pricing piece then, right? So people say, how in the world do you charge $350 to $500 an hour for a therapy intensive? That must be, if you are seeing people at that rate, even in an intensive and weekly, wow, you must work with the 1%. Maybe, I suppose, if someone were doing, my 3-hour intensives are $1,500. So if someone was spending, what is that, $6,000 a month on a therapy intensive, maybe they might be in that 1%. But that's not usually actually the clients that I'm working with. The clients that I work with in therapy intensives, they fall much more in the range of, $50,000, $80,000, maybe $100,000 a year for their personal income. This is either what they've told me or what I can assume based on their job title. They are not rich. They are not the 1%. They are not seeing the therapy intensive as a way to be forever, right? That is not their goal of why they're going to a therapy intensive. They're going to a therapy intensive to let me do this one-time big investment. Maybe I'll do it again in the future if I liked it, but let me do this one-time big investment so that I can feel better faster, so that I can have a breakthrough in my life, so that I feel better. And that is the thing, is most people are seeing it as a one-time investment. I had a consultation a couple of weeks ago where someone was like, this is going to be my Christmas present to myself, to do a therapy intensive and to work through some of the things I haven't been able to have that breakthrough with my routine therapist. Because a lot of clients also do adjunct therapy intensives. So again, there's not a lot of people out there. I don't think there's a single consult I've had with someone for an intensive or a person I've done an intensive with who has said, I would love to do these forever. It's my plan to do these forever. I'm ready to invest this amount forever. No one has done that. People have seen this as a one-time investment that they're willing to make, knowing that otherwise I'd like to use my in-network plan to see my weekly therapist because I can't afford $500 an hour for the rest of my life. Totally understandable. But again, right, that's where I think a lot of people are making assumptions around, I cannot charge these premium fees because otherwise it means I'm only targeting the 1% and it means I'm becoming totally inaccessible. Whereas actually, in fact, there are people who are not the 1%, people who are not rich, whatever our definition of that is, who are choosing to pay for an intensive because they see it as this one-time experience that is going to help them and they will feel better. And maybe they come back in 6 months for another one to work on the same thing or a different thing. Maybe they never come back because they felt like that was exactly what they needed and that was great. So a couple days ago, was it Friday? A couple days ago, some point in the recent past, I posted a reel to kind of break this down too, around if we're thinking about a therapy intensive as a one-time investment that people will make, my fees for that are just below $2,000, including the intake appointment and maybe a 3-hour session. If we think about things that are approximately that amount, people do invest approximately that amount or close to that amount for things that are one-time experiences. That's going to bring them either some short-term benefit and joy or some long-term benefit or joy. And that can be concert tickets. Did y'all see the prices of Taylor Swift concert tickets? Like, did you go to one? Did you invest in one? If so, you probably know what I'm talking about, right? This one-time experience that you thought would give you a really good time, leave you with some really good memories, and you probably have no regrets if you did that. People are going to feel the same way about the therapy intensive, right? This was this one-time investment. I did it so I can feel better faster. Hopefully I worked through some goals, had some breakthroughs, and that's it. Maybe I don't ever do that again. Maybe you don't ever go to a Taylor Swift concert again, and that's fine. I've been quoted $1,200 to take out a small dent from the side of my door from when a cyclist ran into the side of my door. I chose to not invest in that because I can live with a little dent, but some people would choose to invest in that because they prefer clean aesthetics of the car, right? So that's a decision. There are so many little decision points that people can make with money, and I think just because this is a therapy service, that's where people start to have the judgment around it's wrong to charge a high amount for it, as opposed to concert tickets can cost that much, sport season tickets can cost that much, car repairs. I got LASIK eye surgery a few years ago. Plenty of people do braces for cosmetic reasons. There are so many things that people invest thousands of dollars in that are a little bit more approved, honestly, by society of like, oh, okay, well, if it's for cosmetics, if it's for self-esteem, if it's for looks, then you're good, right? That makes sense to invest in that. Therapy though, ooh, don't do that. That's wrong. That's icky. And how dare a therapist do that? I want to break that, right? Because number one, it's just not true. Why should people not invest in their mental health in this way? That is not me saying people who can't afford it should go ahead and invest because that's an opportunity to invest in themselves. I've seen those comments, whatever. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for a therapy intensive, there are people who will invest in it because of what it can give them. And I've seen and I've heard what a therapy intensive has done for people who have gone to the IOP programs and actually left more traumatized, which by the way, they were quoted for an IOP $50,000 and they got no benefit from it, but they spent $4,500 for a 3-day intensive with me and felt better than they ever have before. Make it math, right? So it is not you being inaccessible. It is not you not caring. Many of the therapists that I coach and work with, they've actually become more accessible by offering therapy intensives, because if they can offer the therapy intensives with people who can and are willing to do this typical one-time investment, then that helps them see a pro bono client without the stress of like, crap, how am I going to pay my bills, right? This helps them to open up more spots for low fee people because, well, I got people who have great out-of-network benefits and can make $300, $400 an hour easier work for them. So I can afford to see you for $20 or $100 or whatever it is. This is all about how does everything balance for you? And right now, things probably don't balance for you if what you are prioritizing is financial accessibility, perceived financial accessibility over everything else. You are probably burnt out, not being able to afford your bills. That's what I've heard from so many therapists. But again, you do not need the rich client to book an intensive. Certainly some people have money in savings. People have pulled money out of their savings in order to do a therapy intensive with me. People have put debt on a credit card in order to do a therapy intensive with me. People have borrowed money from a family member to do a therapy intensive with me. If people see the value in something, if there is hope around it, if they trust you from how you have marketed yourself, and if they trust you based on how the consultation appointment went, then they will find a way to make it work. Not everyone. Again, I have definitely the way that my fees are. Some people have said, wow, that is a lot of money. I can't do that. And that's fine, because I can either refer to people I know who do intensives for a lower fee, or I can refer them to people who work in the traditional model, weekly therapy model, who might take their insurance. I do not force anyone to pay me my fees. That would be unethical. To say, here's this service, here's what it has the potential to offer you, here's the pricing, and someone choose to pay for that however they pay for that, that is not unethical. I want to make that very clear too. We are taking away people's choice and power when we are assuming what can and can't work for them. All you are doing is presenting this option. And again, it is not the rich client who says like, yeah, great, let me just drop money on this before I go on a trip with my yacht buddies or something like that. I've never had that kind of client reach out to work with me. Maybe you do, and that's fantastic. But it is not just rich clients who do this. So how do you then get more therapy clients, if there are people in your area who are worried about, I can't make this work financially, if people genuinely cannot afford it, we don't force it on them, right? Maybe this is a client that you kind of pin for later if you don't refer out, depending again on like what their goals are. Maybe this is someone you pin for later of, as my financial situation improves, if you'd like to work together after, things have changed for me in my practice, maybe I can see you on a lower scale. Or I've known some therapists who have done, here's these full fee intensives, and then every now and then I can do a pro bono intensive, right? If you're going to do something like that, make sure that your finances are working for you, because obviously you investing in an intensive for no charge to the client, it's a lot of work on your end. It's the same amount of work as if you were charging for it, but also I want to make sure your finances are taken care of. So there are going to be people who can't afford it. That just is what it is. But for the other clients out there who have spent thousands or tens of thousands a year on their weekly services, their weekly therapy services with their therapist they've seen for 3 years, 5 years, a decade, and are still feeling like I haven't had that breakthrough that I'm looking for, I am still in pain, they will look at a therapy intensive and see what it can offer. They will be excited about it. If they are committed to it, they will find a way to make that work, and that is their job. That is not ours. And in fact, I've even told some therapists that I've worked with, like, you can make financial anxiety, like, wow, is that a target in and of itself for an intensive, right? Of what does it mean to invest in yourself? Are you worried you don't feel worthy of investing in? Are you worried that you wasted money on yourself if the therapy intensive didn't magically cure everything that you were going through? I've seen a lot of people have a lot of progress in an intensive, and it's not supposed to be the magic cure-all, right? I wish it was. I wish we had something that helped people feel better, although then us therapists would be out of a job, so, pros and cons. I wish there was a way to magically move people completely out of their pain and hurt, especially, it's a hard world today. So there is all of that. And what I know from experience, I'm trying to math in the moment, and that's never good. Let's say 50-ish if I round up, and 20. I've done close to 70 intensives at this point, and people have appreciated what they have been able to move forward in, even if it hasn't completely cleared. Here's my childhood trauma. Maybe we don't completely clear that in 3-hour sessions, but wow, you can feel like these few memories don't trigger you as much anymore. Wow, you can feel like, actually, this wasn't my fault. This was my parents' crap that they had to deal with, and it wasn't fair for them to put that on me. They can have these huge shifts, again, in a period of half a day, 3 days, a week, whatever your intensive is. And that is a thing that people will pay for. People will pay much more for much less. So I'm going to leave it a little bit open in terms of if you have questions, thoughts, comments. I've got about 10 minutes before I am moving on to my next thing. But I really just wanted to come and share a little bit more openly around, it truly is a myth that you need rich clients, that you need people who have just like excesses of money in order to do therapy intensives. Even if your fee, some people, their intensive fee is $200, right? Like I said, my intensive fee ranges between $400 and $500 an hour. So yes, those are high fees. Yes, not everyone is going to pay them, but when you market them well, when you show up well, people can see that, people can trust that, people are at least willing to try. And I've said that with so many people, is like, the most we can try. I really think given what you're talking to me about during this intro call, I really think a 2 or 3 day intensive would be best for you. But if you want to just try out a 1 day, then we can try that. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, let's try it. And then maybe they try it, and then maybe finances are the reason they don't book another one. Or maybe they want more things to settle and integrate, or they want to bring it back to their weekly therapist. Totally fine, right? But people are at least willing to try it, but they can't try it if you don't offer it, because you're worried that people aren't going to pay the fee, people aren't going to want to work in this way. question that came through around what kinds of professional trainings can help with offering couples intensives. Super good question. There are a few different ways to do that. I've not seen very many like a training on how to do intensives with couples specifically, but I know emotionally focused training, that's what I have the most amount of training in for my couples work, applies very well to a couples intensive because as we learn in EFT, and I think Gottman does this as well, you do an intake with the couple, 2 individual sessions with each individual of the couple, and then you start getting into work. So that's already 3 hours of therapy right there. If you did this in the traditional model, that might be 1 week intensive, maybe 1 week the next individual appointment, maybe the next week another individual appointment. You've already waited a month before you can get to doing the actual couples work. So even just to be able to do the 3 hours of like intake and assessment and then a couple session in the same day, that's an intensive right there, right? And if you learn the EFT model, the Gottman model, you have plenty of ideas for psychoeducation or interventions and things that you can do. So my EFT couples intensives are 5 hours on day 1, so the 3 hours of assessment and intake, and then 2 hours of a first couples session. And then the second day is 2 hour session, break, 2 hour session. So 9 hours of therapy in 2 days. So yes, Gottman, I know they, I think even in their trainings, they talk about their like marathon sessions, which is again, basically that. So I will, in those intakes and in those assessment appointments, talk about, what exactly is our goal here, right? What's the problem you've been going through? What is it you're needing most support with? If we only got to one of those things today, if there was one cycle we can help identify and understand and break, what do you want to focus on today? And then I use as much of the interventions as I'm trained in that time. And you can definitely incorporate internal family systems work in an intensive as well, and especially with a couple. Do people already know they're looking for intensives, and how do I adjust my clinical approach for these? I love that question because a lot of people ask me that question around, like, I talk about search engine optimization a lot for marketing because it is super easy, it is super effective, it is ultimately free when you learn how to do it yourself. Intensives in and of themselves aren't necessarily like a keyword, like people don't necessarily yet, because intensive therapy is still a little bit newer from the aspect of like, most people think about therapy as weekly therapy forever, which is not true because there's this intensive therapy model. So most people aren't searching for an EMDR intensive, a couples intensive, but there are some people who are. So number 1, that would be making sure you have those keywords on your website to have couples intensives, individual intensives, therapy intensives. You can do that in blogs, you can do that in service pages. So some people know that's what they're looking for. And that might be because their therapist recommended it, their psychiatrist recommended it, that might be they heard of someone who's done it. So some people come to me and they know, they said, my therapist, my psychiatrist said I should look for a therapy intensive. I didn't see anyone offering that except for you. So I'm already ahead of a lot of other therapists who might even be offering this already because I've doubled down on that search engine optimization, the SEO aspect. That being said, some people have never heard of an intensive. They have no idea what it is, but they still schedule a specific consult for therapy intensives with me because I have those pages on my website. I have pop-ups, I have banners, I have links in multiple pages on my website for like my trauma therapy page. I'm talking about what is trauma therapy, and then I say, and if you're interested in learning how you could potentially feel better faster, check out my therapy intensives page. Or if you want to skip the wait list, check out my therapy intensives page. So there's lots of ways that you can direct people to your intensives so that they can learn about it and actually learn how, wow, maybe this is how I would prefer it to work. So I've had people who have just found me based on EMDR, based on couples therapy, based on my location. Never heard of an intensive before, but saw that it was a service on my website and said, I would love to do this. This actually sounds like what I'm looking for. I don't think I want to do weekly therapy. Maybe we talk about it after an intensive, but I definitely want to try an intensive. So the more you put that on your website, the more you promote it, the more you talk about it with people, even send a letter to your current client caseload about, hey, here's this new service that I'm offering. People may never have heard of it, but that doesn't mean they won't be interested in it. So really good question there. My intensives, I have a few different options. If I have a couple of clients who are repeat clients for intensives. Those people, usually it works pretty well to do 1 to 2 2-hour sessions a month. So 2 hours a month or 4 hours a month. So 2 hours I find is a good minimum for an intensive. For the people who do like a one-time intensive, it's at least 3 hours in a day. I find is really helpful to get a lot of work done. And that's either 90 minutes, take a break 90 minutes, or 3 hours straight through. I've even done 4 hours straight through before. I've started to learn 4 hours is kind of my capacity for my attention and kind of my energy. So now I only offer 3 at a time. So either that's 1 3-hour session in a half day, or I've done like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 hours each day. So 9 hours total, but spread across 3 days. And then, like I said, my couples intensives are 5 hours the first day, 3 hours break, 2 hours, and then 2 hours break, 2 hours. So 9 hours total across 2 days. And you can structure these however you want. I've had tons of people be like, I don't even think I want to do a 2-hour intensive. Can I just do 90 minutes at a time? Absolutely. It's working intensively. You can still get a lot more work done compared to 50 or 60 minutes. So when your clients are out of network and they want a super bill, how to best take care of this? Yes. So it's always important to give clients some psycho ed around intensives, especially when it comes to the out-of-network billing aspect of it. So either way, you're coding these appointments as the 90837 because 90837 is 53 plus minutes. So whether that's 57 minutes, whether that's 257 minutes, it all falls into that code. You can, depending on how involved you are, you can contact the client's insurance plan, or you can encourage the client to contact their insurance plan. There are some companies, and this varies by state, and this varies by like tier of plans, so I can't say like which ones specifically because they might be different by your state and your client's insurance plans. There are some companies who will authorize 2 90834s in a day, so up to 90 minutes, or 2 90837s in a day, so up to 2 hours. In that case, what you would do then is the super bill would show 2 units of whatever it is instead of 1 unit of whatever it is. What I do personally is I just keep it as 1 unit of 90837, but my appointment is coded to say 3-hour session as opposed to just like therapy session or individual session or something like that. So clients then, as they've submitted their super bills, have been able to talk with their representative that they're submitting the claim for to be like, well, hey, I still spent all this amount on a service, and then that applies to their deductible or the out-of-pocket maximum. So I've had people be reimbursed up to like 50% for their intensives. So then when you think about that, my 3-hour is $1,500. If you're reimbursed 50% of that, that's $750 for a 3-hour session, which is it's less than $250 per hour. So, right, this is where actually it can work for people. And another reason why you do not need these rich clients to make it work. Sometimes it's just educating on the out-of-network benefits depending on what their out-of-network benefits are. Sometimes people don't have that. I've had people pay with FSAs or HSAs and it hasn't been a problem in the intensive model. So there's lots of ways to make it work. So you do not need rich clients. You may get rich clients, and that's totally fine too, but you do not need them in order to book more intensives. You just have to have really good marketing on your website, present really, really well to your consultation calls. I've had people say like, wow, you don't look like a tired therapist. Like, that's huge. And that is huge. I don't think I would want to sign up for a therapy intensive if it felt like someone was not looking forward to even meeting with me for a consult call. I just felt like I was the last person they wanted to see of the day. So whatever you can do during a consult call, before a consult call, to like boost up your energy, I think that's all the more better too. Oh, thank you, Denise. I really appreciate that. Yes, this recording will be posted in the Facebook group for those who are watching on Instagram Live. It'll be posted as a reel in, I think it takes like 5 to 10 minutes for it to convert from the live into a reel. So there will definitely be recordings of this if anyone missed it or had glitchy internet. But that's all I have for today. I just wanted to again come on and make this a very explicit conversation when people are expressing concerns around, can clients afford this? Are they gonna afford it? Who's gonna invest in it? How do I get more booked? So much of it comes back down to marketing it well, using both search engine optimization for intensives as well as just for the other services you provide, and then just showing up the best you can and being realistic with your clients about what you can likely accomplish in a therapy intensive. So no grand promises around you'll definitely never need therapy again after this, or you'll definitely see a complete reduction of all symptoms. That would be unrealistic. Maybe that would border along the that's like the ethics question, right? Of what are we doing here? But when you can say, when I've done intensives, here's what I've seen this do for people. When I've done intensives, typically I see people move from this place to this place. And you could say that honestly, then again, all you are doing is giving people choice of how they want to engage in therapy. And some people will take advantage of that choice and some people will not, and that is okay. So I appreciate you all for being here. I appreciate you all for engaging in these conversations of how do we make your practice work, not just for you, but also your clients. There are clients out there who want intensives and they're looking for intensives. You have to market them in order for them to find you. You have to talk about them in order for people to take advantage of them. So that is all I have for today. I appreciate you. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave questions on the recordings, DM me, whatever is most accessible to you. And otherwise, I will see you around in various spaces that I see you all. Thank you for being here. Bye.